Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Owot Kaboko together with my co-host Olengo Kwach, and welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. This is where we bring you the reflection of politics and governance across our country, Kenya. Today we are proceeding with our previous conversation about different political interests in the Kenyan space of politics. We previously discussed Raila Odinga together with Rigathi Gachagua. You can pick and click on that in just within the channel. And today we are looking into these two gentlemen. We have the current president of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, together with Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Starting from Kalonzo Musyoka, we've seen this man on the political space for a very long time. What can you say about his interests in the political space?
It's very true. He has been around for some good time because
Yeah.
he was there in the Moi government, Kibaki, Uhuru, now Ruto.
Yeah.
And Kalonzo Musyoka has also served in one of among the biggest positions in the Kenyan politics.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that in as much as the current president can be seen as many people see him as a very much corrupt man, but their interests are more or less the same.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because in the Kenyan context, what we discussed previously, the major political players, most of them doesn't have the people's interest at heart.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they have their own personal interest.
Yeah.
They might come to the public and pretend or try to show the public that they are with the public.
Yeah.
But back on the stage, back behind the curtains, they are pushing for their own personal interests.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Kalonzo has been both in the opposition politics and also in the government.
Yes.
And within opposition, we can't say much because he has, in so much of his time in opposition, been under Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And again, we've seen him in government. What do you say about his role in these two different spaces? When he has been in opposition and he is right now, has he been speaking to the voice of the people, or again when he was in government, what did he do to prove that he really means what he says when he is in opposition?
As usual,
Yeah.
any politician in the opposition always tend to fail or know exactly what the masses want.
Yeah.
They know the excesses of the government, they know how the country should be run effectively, and they know what is ailing the country.
Yeah.
But the moment they get to the government side, it seems they forget all these things. And that's why I'm saying most of them keep pushing for their own personal interests.
Okay.
And Kalonzo Musyoka, looking at him in the opposition benches,
Yeah.
he has as well played some good role as Raila Odinga when it comes to pushing for reforms, pushing for better governance, and all that. But again, Kalonzo Musyoka has been seen as somebody who never has that strong stand. Because at one point, he's here defending this. But if the other side of the coin proves to be better, he'll move to that other side of the coin. Remember, just immediately after the 2022 elections, presidential elections, with Ruto now as the president, the Azimio coalition, which was in the opposition then, were pushing for the ouster of William Ruto as the president.
Yeah.
And the Ruto must go, the Sufuria movement and all that. Kalonzo Musyoka kept working very closely with Raila Odinga alongside other opposition leaders.
Yeah.
And for you to know that he was also interested in his own personal interests, they came up with this thing called NADCO.
Yeah, sure.
And during the NADCO process, Kalonzo Musyoka was leading the Azimio side. Yeah? Kimani Ichung'wah was leading the Kenya Kwanza side. And whatever came out, the NADCO report, the results of that meeting, that whole process, Kalonzo Musyoka supported it. Yeah? William Ruto, Raila Odinga, among other opposition leaders and government leaders supported it. In the opposition, we only had Eugene Wamalwa and Martha Karua opposing it. When you look at the content of the NADCO report, it's just they just play around with English words, but in real sense, nothing much is of benefit to the public. But if you look at it very keenly, you realize that most of the solutions it was trying to give is just widening the government space and ensuring that many politicians are accommodated. And so when he now comes back and is also now speaking against that NADCO report, and also speaking against the government, now we are not so sure of his stand, just because if at all Kalonzo Musyoka was also given the positions for cabinet secretaries, for principal secretaries. Today, we could have a different Kalonzo. Yeah.
Leaving that aside, the space that they are looking for in the government, let's look at Kalonzo when he was serving as part of the government during the Kibaki regime.
Yes.
Did he really deliver to the people of Kenya?
I've been to even his home county where he was born. I've been to Kitui twice. And these people will tell you that even as the VP, he never did much.
Okay.
Leave alone Kitui as a county, but just the Ukambani sect, the eastern Kenya, where we have we talk about Makueni, Machakos, Kitui, around that area. You know, charity begins at home.
Yeah, sure.
In as much as you're a national leader, I don't really think if you'll enjoy if the development maybe you are taking it somewhere else, but not pushing for your region or area to also get those developments.
But was the development somewhere else?
Of course, we had developments even to those sides. But the residents of that area, majority will tell you that they don't really feel the much that Kalonzo did, even as a member of parliament. So we cannot say that he exactly understands what the masses want, because if he did, then he would have performed better than what he did. Again, you know, Kalonzo, for the 2007 elections, Kalonzo was in a different side. But when the government was being made, he was there as the VP. So that tells you how he keeps changing, and the name Watermelon, how it came by. So as a VP, so that we don't beat around the bush, Kalonzo never did much. Of course, there's a mandate for you as a president or as a vice president then, or a deputy president today, to deliver on the national agenda. So Kalonzo Musyoka was not felt so much across the country, leave alone even his area. Because we've said once you are the president or the deputy president or vice president, then you're a national figure. So his vice presidency wasn't really felt so much as compared to other performing vice presidents.
You know, this man has announced that he will be running for the top job come 2027. And today we see him running all over the country, speaking about anything that comes about that maybe looks pro people today. And what can you really say is, what is he really forging into?
You know, Kalonzo Musyoka, just as you said before, has had his political umbrella under Raila Odinga, more so in the opposition benches. And now he's trying to pull strings. Remember, Raila Odinga is now on the bed with the government. And so the opposition is seen as if it is very weak. And even if you look at William Ruto when he's speaking, he's not so much bothered with the opposition politics. The people who may be making him have sleepless nights are the likes of Gachagua. But with Kalonzo, I've never really heard Ruto strongly speak or reply to what Kalonzo says. Compared to how he does it when it comes to Gachagua. And so that tells you maybe he doesn't feel Kalonzo so much, in as much as Kalonzo has a solid following from his backyard. He also has a solid following of about over 1 million voters. But now, right now, I see Kalonzo Musyoka as a man who is trying to pull strings and build some kind of political strength or circle around him, so that at the end of the day, even if he doesn't make it to the team forming the next government. His main aim is to form the next government. But if he fails to form the next government, then he's trying to build himself so that he comes out as Raila Odinga, who has some strong force around him, and therefore it will force the government of the day to look for him so that they can sit on the table and then see how they can broker a power sharing deal.
A man looking to fetch for himself.
Yes.
Okay. Now to William Ruto. You know, this man started all the way from being a member of parliament for 15 years. And he served in government and again became the deputy president in the Uhuru government. And today he's the president. What do you say about him? Because there is an outcry across the country that this man has not delivered on what the country felt that he could deliver.
Of course, even the non-performing leaders, to some extent, they'll deliver 1 or 2 or 3. Because at the end of the day, this is your full-time job. And the masses are looking at you and wondering what you are doing. So even the non-performing, even member of parliaments, the governors, and even now William Ruto, you'll realize that a few projects here and there, at least they'll have a touch of a few projects. But in real sense, they are William Ruto, I can just say he's a political genius because he knows how to play his cards well, and then he's a very serious orator, and that does so well when it comes to politics. But William Ruto, the man, I don't really think if he's so much interested in developing the nation. Because if that was his main interest, then he would have ensured that all the CS positions had those who are competent. When I say competent, I mean those whose specializations or career lines align very well with the specific ministries. And therefore, if we are talking about health, we have a medical practitioner. If we are talking about agriculture, we have someone who is well versed with agriculture, and so on and so forth. So that at the end of the day, you don't micromanage, because you remember one time Ruto himself complained that he knows too much about the ministries more than the cabinet secretaries themselves. So if he could ensure that the ministries have the right people for the job, then with him, he now oversees how these things are done and performs his other duties as the president, then we would have a very seriously growing nation. But since he wants to micromanage every ministry and ensure he understands how every coin is used in every ministry, like personally, without waiting for...
What does that mean in regard to his interest in politics?
Therefore, if I look at William Ruto, the man, then I see someone who is in business. He's in business and therefore looks at all the possible means or the possible opportunities to make money. And therefore, all these ministries might have possible means of making money.
What about all these promises that is given across the country?
Of course,
he is set to deliver them or not?
Many Kenyans love being lied to. And that is why many genuine politicians or genuine leaders are never elected into the office. I gave example of during the previous episode about Miguna running in Nairobi, PLO Lumumba also running for office, but these people never had serious support. In as much as they were speaking the truth and having good intentions, at the end of the day, people love who lies much. Because when you, in Kenya, if you look at those who have made it to serious positions, then you realize that majority kept lying. And they lie to the people and people buy that. Remember, people voted for Ruto, not that they didn't know Ruto. People knew Ruto. So I believe Ruto knows very well that lying to Kenyans is a medicine to majority of the voters. Most of those who are up country, majority tend to believe in mtu wetu. And therefore, in as much as he talks about projects, I'll still repeat that one of the projects I know, a major one that William Ruto started and will finish and launch, is the Talanta Hela Stadium. Apart from that, he keeps relaunching and launching other projects which had been launched before, and some projects which are even supposed to be launched by Assistant Chief.
You used a very worrying statement that Ruto is in business. What does that mean to the people of Kenya? Because we do expect that the economy should be growing, things should be fixed in the country because things are already in a mess. And then when you say that he is in business, that could be so worrying.
I can say that because he never has one strong stand. Remember Ruto, the man, saying that we are going to reduce the government expense. We are going to ensure that we spend within our means. And then he comes here and says, now, no more harambees to churches, no more harambees to religious groups. But then again, just a few months later, he does those very things and then defends himself that it is given to God. And at the end of the day, you realize that what he says today is very opposite of what he says tomorrow. Again, you look at maybe a journalist asking him about a young man who was shot during the protests. The reply versus the question doesn't add up because he talks about he is alive, right? He doesn't want to talk about the shooting bit of it. He doesn't want to admit that he was using the police in the wrong way. And therefore, I look at William Ruto, who is a man on a mission, but not really a mission to build Kenya. Because if he was on a mission to build Kenya, he would allow criticism because that is safe. Globally, we've had books, we've had films, we've had people do art which criticize governments,
Yeah.
criticize politicians, criticize individuals in administrative positions.
Sure.
And such criticisms are healthy because they help you know where you are going wrong
Yeah.
and how then you should do things right.
Yeah.
But with Ruto, his critics, either they are abducted or they are punished. And you can even see what happened with the Butere girls recently. Just young people trying to show art. So that tells you that he is not a man who is really willing to allow himself be criticized.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it seems criticism might make... the Swahili says, utaanika uchi wake. Therefore, he doesn't really want the criticism, a bit of it.
Yeah.
And therefore, looking at even the ministries, you've had even J.B. Muturi, the former Attorney General, speak about when money comes from the foreign countries, it is supposed to go to the treasury. But then he was talking about William Ruto having interest and trying to influence so that the money goes direct to a specific ministry.
Okay.
And that tells you, if that is true, then that tells you he's a man on a mission, but on a different mission, not what Kenyans think.
Oh, interesting conversation here that now we also know that Ruto will be running for 2027 presidential election.
Yeah.
And he's up for the position and he speaks he's going to win. So we just don't know that will Kenyans really know that these individuals doesn't really have their interests at heart. Let's keep proceeding with this conversation in the comment section and ensure you share this video, and you can also link with us when you have a topic you want us to discuss. Please share with us. Thank you and welcome again next time.